What's going on, guys? Oh my, Godzilla back here with another very exciting Godzilla figure review. Guys, taking a look at two figures today, the Super7 Godzilla and the Rose Form Biollante. Guys, let's jump right in.
Oh my god!
Real quick, guys, I want to first look at the packaging. So, we have Super7 in the top corner. I assume it says Godzilla vs. Biollante. So that's what that is. Heisei Godzilla 1989 there. The top says Ultimates. Got the Godzilla logo on the side there. Moving this to the back, we have Godzilla vs. Biollante. So pretty basic on the outside packaging. But then, you can actually lift this piece, and that shows off the figure here. And we have a really good look at this figure, guys. Looks good in the packaging. Got some accessories, obviously, here. Some extra hands. Open mouth head, the damaged hand. And the tail, if you can see it back there, is just massive. So really a cool look at this figure in the box. Again, Ultimates, not much there. But you do have a cool bio on the back. So feel free to pause and read through that if you are interested. Same thing for Biollante, guys. Really cool look at him in the open face packaging here. Or actually her, I'm pretty sure Biolante's a girl. But, and then you got the blurb on the back as well, again. So just wanted to give you guys a look at the figures in the packaging before we bust them out and really take a look. And into the figures themselves, guys. So obviously they scale pretty well together. Taking a look at that first. They scale pretty well together. They stand about equal in height. I wouldn't mind if Biollante was a little bigger, just because I like Godzilla's foes to be a little bit bigger. But let me go ahead and take a look at the Godzilla first. So, we have some very solid detail in the figure himself. The chest looks good. Just kind of the way his overall texture of his body is pretty good. They didn't miss really any parts. Even the insides of the hands have some texture in there. The joints are a little too visible, but that's okay. Moving down kind of the body, looks good. The paint apps are applied pretty well and evenly, and not really any errors on paint, kind of on the claws to toe claws. The head sculpt looks pretty good. I think it's a fairly nice sculpt. Wouldn't mind if the top of these last couple of crests were painted. These last couple of fins did not get painted. And obviously we don't have any mouth articulation. They made up for that by actually having two separate heads, so you actually can pop off the head and have him open mouth or close mouth. I would have preferred had they just given him mouth articulation, but it is what it is there. Mine does have one little paint error here. Looks like they accidentally sprayed kind of his jaw there with the tooth color paint, but not the end of the world. Guys, the tail looks pretty solid, painted all the way down to the end, so I can definitely appreciate that. However, so the tail came separately in the box, and we do have a pretty big gap here, unless it's kind of tucked back and up, and obviously it falls down naturally. But so if he kind of sits back on it, you can kind of fix it, but there is a pretty decent tail gap there for when he's not sitting on it. I actually really like how these spines are painted. I think they look really good. And I've been seeing a lot of people giving this guy some crap online, just because he doesn't look as good as the promo stuff. I don't hate it. I am not madly in love with how it came out, but I think it's getting worse hit on the internet than it deserves. It's a pretty solid figure. The scale of it is massive. I mean, just look at it in my hand. It's a very large figure. So I definitely can appreciate that. And I don't appreciate the fact that we had to wait 16 months was the wait time for when they announced these guys and we could pre-order them, and when we finally got them. But I really think they did a good job on the eyes. They look pretty solid in there. And let's get into some articulation, guys. So the head is going to have decent articulation. It can look down, it can look up, it can go side to side. This neck piece here also has some movement, so you get some good posability out of the head and neck area. Do we have swivel at the torso? There is good swivel there. The arms are pretty good as well. They're on kind of a ball joint, so they can go up, down. They have a little bit of in and out, not as much as like an SH Monster Arts would, but some there. We do have elbow articulation. It works really well, elbow articulation. There is good wrist articulation also. I'm gonna do this guy. And then moving into the leg is where we get a little stuck. So we have some articulation kind of on the thigh. The knee articulation is effectively useless. Like I don't want to force it too hard because it looks like that joint can move more, but I can't get anything out of the knee. Foot has a tiny bit of point, but it does swivel pretty well. Tail, pretty good articulation. It's really stiff, but so obviously we can go kind of there. We can straighten him out for the most part. I don't want to do anything too hard just because I don't want to break anything. And we get a little side to side, a lot of squeaky too. ASMR for you. So definitely some decent posability out of the tail and the figure overall. The legs being the weakest part, but I never really seem to want to do too much with the legs anyways. Sometimes you can get kind of a Godzilla in like a little running pose. I do that with some of my SH Monster Arts, but legs are not overly articulate. Not the end of the world though. Guys, taking a look at the accessories this guy comes with. So, we obviously have the open mouth head that we looked at earlier. I think I prefer this one. I'm going to swap them here in a second. Decent job there. Little, not really, but tiny bit of detail on the inside of the mouth, tongue. Painted, everything's painted pretty well. The teeth look good. Sitting back in there. Pretty solid there. So I definitely like the head sculpts. They did a good job on both the head sculpts, but I think I like the open mouth better. We have this guy, which we'll take a look at in effect later. But you can pop the head off, put this around his neck, and make it kind of look like Biollante's got him tangled up in his little vines. So, it's decent. It's just kind of a little blob of vines. Nothing too special there. It's really squishy, though. And then we do have a smattering of hands. So he's got the 2 hands there, and we have 5 extras. We have kind of balled up fists, so you can do fists on either hand. They look pretty solid. And then we have kind of different open hands. Those are kind of fun. Kind of like an angry, grippy hand. And then we have, obviously, the damaged hand, where Biollante put a hole right through him. So that's interesting as well. Definitely, I don't know, probably won't be using this one. But I'll have to figure out which hands I like the best. The ones that are on there are actually maybe my favorite. They might look the best. These ones are a little too intense. The fists are a little too boring. So we might just keep the ones on there, but it's nice to know we have the options. So guys, here we are with the ropes, the vines kind of around Godzilla's neck. I don't think this looks very good. I will not be implementing that. And here's Godzilla with the open mouth head. I think I probably prefer this one. It is very cool we get a closed mouth head, because not many figures have closed mouth. But I really just wish they would have given us jaw articulation. It seems like they could have done that, I feel like. Should have done that. So guys, that's been Godzilla. Let's take a look at Biollante. Alrighty guys, here she is, Biollante herself with the rose form head. Pretty solid here. My biggest complaint goes immediately to the teeth. They look terrible. I think they, in the promo pictures, they were more individually sculpted, a little more spread apart, and they look way better. This looks kind of goofy, actually. I don't think they did a good job on the teeth sculpt there, but everything else is really nice. Great detail and paint on these leaves. I love how they kind of have the green and the black over top it. The rose looks pretty good. They could have done a little more texturing on the kind of sides of the rose, but the front looks great. The body looks solid. They could have splashed in a little more different colors throughout here, kind of mixed it up a little bit, but it looks good all things considered. The kind of life force, or whatever you want to call this thing of Biollante, looks pretty solid as well, although it totally weirdly seems like it should have a light in there or something. You can feel this figure is like really hollow. Godzilla is like heavy and dense. This figure is like really light and hollow, interestingly enough. So there's that. There's our bottom. Move into the back. We kind of have where a lot of these tentacle vines come in. They're all articulated, so that's nice though. They're all on joints, so you can kind of swivel, get some bend action out of them. I'm not going to probably mess with posing them too much, because it looks fine the way it came in the box. By the way, getting these things out of the packaging was a nightmare. They were practically welded into the packaging. It was ridiculous. Very crazy how deeply inserted they were into those plastics. So here's our hands. They articulate. Why couldn't they have done that with Godzilla's mouth? I don't know. But they look good. I love them. And the accessories for Biollante are as follows. An open mouth head, which looks a little bit better, but the teeth still have that same problem. They're just too close together, and they actually look kind of derpy. I don't love it. So there's kind of how we attach and change the head. The only other accessories we have for Biollante are these. Well, there you go. You can replace you take off the tentacles at this joint here, and it kind of gives you a severed look. So you can kind of do this. It's kind of a weird effect. They don't stay together very well. So you kind of gotta, you put them together and they kind of want to fall apart. I will not be using these. I can't hardly get them to stay together at all. They're just a nightmare. Kind of a dumb thing there. They should have done that, they should have done it so it clicks together a little bit better, because these do not stay together at all very well. I mean, it's on there right now, but it's just balanced on there. So if you wanted to pose one where you had one here and then you had the tentacle on the ground, you could do that. But the severed tentacle thing kind of doesn't work for me. So Biollante's 2 tentacle effects, disappointing. The head, fine, but again, it could have just been fixed by giving us a little articulation on one of the pieces, one of the jaw pieces. They don't even both have to move. Just give us one that can come up and meet the other. So, interesting call on the heads for both Godzilla and Biollante. They could have just given us jaw articulation, which I feel like, I don't know the ins and outs of the figure industry, but I feel like one little piece of jaw articulation would have been easier than building, paying for a whole new head to exist. So I would have kind of preferred that. So guys, before we get into some scaling, I just want to kind of do some overall thoughts right now on the Super 7 Toho Ultimates. Where do we stand with them? They're $80 or so a piece. We waited 16 months for these guys. I'm torn. They are getting too much hate online. People are definitely dumping on them more than they deserve. Are they as good as they should be? Probably not. But are they that bad? No. I mean, they're big figures. They have nice scale. The detail's pretty solid. The paint's good. They're lacking in articulation a little bit, a little light on the articulation, but they aren't advertised as like SH Monster Art style, highly articulate figures. It is nice we have some good articulation. Articulation could be better, it could be a little easier to move, but I don't dislike these. I'm definitely still excited to continue getting Toho Ultimates. I have all their other sets pre-ordered. I'm excited to try and get the new Blood Goji from the Dark Horse comics that they announced as a Comic-Con exclusive. Definitely trying to find a way to get that. So I think these guys are getting too much hate online. They're not bad. They're not amazing. We definitely had to wait too long. The price point maybe a little high, but if you think about it, Haya figure is Haya has a better detail, but they're a little smaller, and they're like $30 cheaper. So I think if Super 7 could figure out a way to get these guys from 80 down to like 65, I think they would truly be worth it. But I'm not mad at them. I don't dislike them. Let's get into some scaling. So guys, first thing I wanted to scale it with, Haya Toys Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. Obviously, they're in different scaling sizes. This is more of an 8, this is more of a 7, but I just wanted to show you. Next one, even smaller, is NECA's Biogoji. Again, not meant to scale. Actually, the scaling here, I don't hate the scaling of Godzilla and Biollante here. Biollante really towers over, and that's kind of cool. So there's your NECA Biogoji. Guys, SH Monster Arts Biogoji. Not bad there. 2018 Movie Monster Series Biollante. Definitely a lot smaller. Guys, here is the bigger, old school, OG Biollante from Bandai. Scale's a little bit better. But still, he's kind of too shrunken down. He should be taller up high, but the scaling's not bad. You can kind of recreate the scene where he's eating Godzilla's head there, but you gotta have him raised. A regular Bandai Movie Monster Series. This is just the 2021 Godzilla 91. So obviously the Bandai Movie Monster Series stuff, not gonna scale. Here's the SH Monster Arts Biollante sitting in there real big. Still, he's probably a little too low to the ground. You can kind of prop him up, but I still think he's a little small. I want my Biollante to be freaking huge. But there's how the SH Monster Arts Biollante would scale. Last figure I wanted to show him off next to is an 8-inch Bandai. So there's your 8-inch Bandai. Going to be a little taller than Godzilla. This is obviously the Final Wars sculpt, but the 8-inch Bandai is actually going to be taller than our 8-inch scale Super 7s. So guys, there we have it. This has been the Toho Ultimates from Super 7, Biogoji, and Rosehead Biollante. I definitely am not mad at these figures. I'm also realizing now that Godzilla can actually kind of grab onto the tentacles here. If you wanted to insert one in his hand, you could. But I don't dislike these figures. I'm not in love with them. Did we overpay at the $80 price point? Maybe a tad. Was it annoying having to wait so long? Yes. Am I glad I have these figures? Yes, they're cool. It's cool to have a Rose Form Biollante. This is the first one I have. I know Bandai's doing one eventually, but this is the first Rose Form Biollante I have in my collection. So definitely cool to have that. Cool to have. I always really love Biollante's little claw grabbers, so I'm glad those articulate. Super excited there. Godzilla looks good. They've been getting too much smack online. They aren't perfect by any means, but they aren't as bad as people are trying to make them out to be. So hopefully if you guys order them, you're happy with them. I'm sorry if you're not. That's definitely disappointing. I know it sucks to wait that long and pay that much and be let down by something like this. I'm not let down. I enjoy these figures for what they are. They're really cool. They're kind of a retro fun deal. Definitely glad Super 7 is doing them. I hope eventually they can get their Toho Ultimates to drop down a little bit in price. I know we've kind of already locked in for the next couple releases with the Destroya set and the Mechagodzilla set. Both of those will be coming eventually. But, guys, overall, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, please. I'm definitely curious to know what everyone's thinking on these figures. I'm not mad. I'm not super impressed, but I'm glad we got them. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you in the next one.